Coming up on Citrus TV News, today is National Women's Day and some on campus made their voices heard. Citrus TV reporter Anna Azallion spoke to leaders of the women's rally outside Hendricks Chapel.
And if you're going home for spring break, make sure you're keeping your items safe. We have some tips from DPS coming up.
And could early voting be coming to New York? We have the details on the potential policy change. Citrus TV News starts right now.
This is Citrus TV News live at 6, your campus news leader.
President Donald Trump will impose new tariffs on steel and aluminum. The changes will take effect in 15 days and will place a 25% tax on steel imports and a 10% tax on aluminum. Good evening, I'm Conor Wight.
And I'm Jack Watson. The president signed off on the tariffs in spite of concerns from Republicans that they will hurt the American economy in the long run. Trump is signing the tariffs into law on the basis that steel and aluminum imports are a threat to U.S. national security.
Others fear that the tariffs will spark a trade war between the U.S. and its allies, namely the European Union. For now, Canada and Mexico will be exempt from the new law, provided that the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, is amended.
Every year, International Women's Day takes place today on March 8th. In honor of this day, multiple organizations on campus came together to organize a rally.
Women's rights are under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight back.
The International Socialist Organization partnered with 3 other student organizations at SU to make the rally possible. Megan Ferreira, a leader of the International Socialist Organization, said today is about bringing attention to oppression of women.
I think that the value of coming out for International Women's Day is just, for me, a lesson in learning the value of my voice. And how it can influence others and hopefully lead others to stand up for those who can't use their voices or don't use their voices.
This wasn't the only issue addressed at the rally. Students and faculty took to the steps of Hendricks Chapel to protest everything from immigration to sexual assault.
So this came about just because there are, every year across the world, women that are striking in the millions. They're protesting in the millions for their own liberation.
Some students voiced their opinions, while others showed up in solidarity with women around the world. To Catherine Sotelo, the rally was about more than just women's rights.
This rally was also called in support of the International Women's Strike, which does stand for environmental justice, reproductive justice, an end to gendered violence, anti-racist, anti-imperialist feminism, and all of these things.
At the rally, Ferreira talked about other events in the works. The International Socialist Organization is planning a counter-protest at a local abortion clinic and a meeting dedicated to the Me Too movement.
An anti-choice group is planning a protest at an abortion clinic in Syracuse. The International Socialist Organization's counter-protest will be on the same day, Sunday, March 25th. Their meeting about the Me Too movement will be on March 21st. For more information on both of these events, visit their Facebook page. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Anna. The National Phi Kappa Psi fraternity is changing its pledging and alcohol policies in the wake of hazing and alcohol abuse on campuses across the country. The fraternity will ban alcohol with over 15% alcohol by volume content. They will also cut down their pledging time for new members from 6 weeks to 10 days. The Syracuse University chapter on Phi Kappa Psi has not been disciplined for hazing or any other code of conduct violations in the past.
And you know, Connor, a really tough loss last night at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York for our men's basketball team here at SU. It leaves me wondering what SU's tournament chances really are.
It certainly does hurt our chances, but we have our sports analyst JD Raucci here with us to break it down. JD?
Yeah, guys, the last night's loss to UNC certainly didn't help matters for Syracuse. They have planted themselves firmly on the bubble for what seems like the 3rd straight year. And when I say bubble, I mean they're not in the tournament quite yet. They're not out of the tournament quite yet.
So how do we compare to other bubble teams?
Well, you know, one thing that the selection committee is looking at this year is quadrant 1 wins. You look at it's the second stat. Syracuse is 3-8 against quadrant 1 in quadrant 1 games this season. And what quadrant 1 wins are, they factor in not only your opponent's RPI, which goes into strength of schedule, strength of team, strength of roster. It's also determined by where the game is played, whether it be a home game, a road game, or a neutral court game. And this season, Syracuse just hasn't performed all that well in those games. UNC would have been a quadrant 1 win yesterday. The only quadrant 1 wins this season were Clemson, Miami, and Louisville. So really, they don't have as many quadrant 1 wins as some of the other bubble teams do, and that might keep them out of the tournament.
So I think a question everyone wants the answer to, does SU have a shot of getting in?
They have a shot, certainly. Make no mistake. 2 years ago, we didn't think Syracuse was going to get into the NCAA tournament. They made a run to the Final Four. But as you see there, I have Syracuse as the second team in my first 4 teams out because, like I said, they just don't have the Quadrant 1 wins that other teams do. They don't have the quality kind of wins that other teams have compared to other bubble teams. They have a couple. They don't have any bad losses really. Their worst loss is probably to either Wake Forest or Georgia Tech, both ACC road games. But they really don't have that quality win that you'd like to see. So for that reason, I'm going to say Syracuse misses the tournament. But again, anything can happen. Selection Sunday coming up in just a couple of days. We'll have to wait till then to really find out.
Well, JD, we'll have our fingers crossed. Thank you. The iSchools Hackathon took place yesterday, and Mayor Ben Walsh was on hand to announce the winners. The team that took home the $3,500 prize created a way to make the snow a little more bearable. Citrus TV reporter Chris Venson was at the event and has more about the competition. To us. Snow removal has been a priority for the Walsh administration since he took office.
And spring break begins tomorrow, or if you're lucky, you're already on the way home. But if you haven't left yet, there are some precautions to take to make sure your things are safe. Riley Burg is in studio to tell us more.
While many have been planning spectacular vacations for spring break, burglars have been planning how to break into homes and cars on campus. CJ McCurdy, the crime prevention manager for the Department of Public Safety, says burglars target a house or car because doors are left unlocked or because valuables can be seen from the outside.
Sometimes kids will break your window just to get that little bit of change, so any valuables, money, laptops, backpacks, a trunk, or take it in the house so that it's not seen, and just make sure you lock your vehicle up.
Officer McCurdy also warns of the risks that come with traveling, saying things can go wrong anywhere.
While you're on break, make sure you stick with your friends, stay together, be safe, and make sure you lock everything up before you leave here.
Officer McCurdy did say that DPS will be checking South Campus doors to make sure they are locked before break begins. If you are looking for more information, visit our website. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Riley. All Syracuse City School District staff will receive active shooter response training next Wednesday afternoon. The training will be led by the Syracuse Police Department. The district's website says the training will cover shelter-in-place procedures, active shooter response, and emergency response. Students will have a half day of school on Wednesday to allow time for the training. This training comes a month after the Parkland, Florida shooting that left 17 dead. And a Central New York top election official is asking the Syracuse Common Council to support a state initiative for early voting. Onondaga County Democratic Election Commissioner Dustin Sarney wants to implement 12 days of early voting to give people more time to vote in November. Governor Andrew Cuomo's proposed budget allocated $7 million to eliminate the cost of early voting. 37 states nationwide already offer some form of early voting.
And another arrest has been made in connection to a robbery at Destiny USA. Syracuse police arrested 21-year-old Shakur Wingate last night. Both Wingate and 17-year-old Tion Jacobs Jr. are charged with second-degree robbery. The two allegedly jumped 2 women at the Macy's department store at Destiny USA in February. Wingate and Jacobs are awaiting arraignment at the Onondaga County Justice Center. And Governor Cuomo is worried about this year's upcoming elections after Russian interference played a vital role in the 2016 election campaign. Cuomo fears it might be an issue in the governor's race. He has called for a bill that makes sure social media companies disclose who is paying for their political advertisements. The intention behind the bill is to limit outside interference. And Conor, the weather has really been all over the place the past couple of days. Cloudy, sunny, and we might even get snowy in the near future.
Well, here to tell us what we're actually going to get is Citrus TV weather anchor Nicole Weaving. Nicole?
And it's currently about 31 degrees here in Syracuse. As we take a look around the rest of central New York, it's 31 in Rome, a nice tic-tac-toe of Ithaca, Penn Yan, and Rochester over at 30. And then as we move into what it's going to be like tonight, it's going to be about a low of 23 degrees, and there'll be a chance of some flurries, and wind is about 10 to 20 miles per hour. Those flurries won't really be moving in until right around midnight or even possibly later into those early hours of the morning. So as we take a look at our Doppler radar, you'll you'll see that there's just some snow coming across, and it really isn't going to be too heavy of snow. So right now, most of the nation is getting hit with Winter Storm Quinn. I'll have more about that later, but right now we're just seeing some lighter lake effect snow that'll be moving in tonight. So when you look at tomorrow morning, it'll be about 31 degrees when you wake up and really not warming up much beyond that throughout the day, but it will be snowing all day. But like I said, some lighter snow, really not much more accumulating beyond 1 to 3 inches. I mentioned that Winter Storm Quinn and second nor'easter during this week, and I'll have more about that later in the show.
Thanks, Nicole. Coming up, President Trump spoke with witnesses to the Mueller investigation. Find out what the president said.
And North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has a message for Donald Trump. Are relations getting better between the nations? That and more when we return.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
What are you, superheroes?
Just four brothers who hate bullies and love this city.
Gear up, guys.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day I found out I have something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
President Donald Trump has asked key witnesses about their interviews with the Russian investigation in the past months.
The New York Times reports Donald Trump told an aide that the White House counselor should deny the article that said Trump asked to fire Robert Mueller. The president also asked former Chief of Staff Reince Priebus how an interview had gone with the special counsel.
Legal experts say the president's contact with the men is not witness tampering.
And Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren has donated around $265,000 to the Democratic Party nationwide. Warren has donated $5,000 to every state Democratic Party in the country.
She's also donating $15,000 to the Democratic National Committee. Warren said Wednesday she wants a strong and competitive Democratic Party.
Warren is also running for re-election to her Massachusetts Senate seat in November. And bones that are likely to belong to Amelia Earhart have been found in the South Pacific. The bones were previously examined in 1940 and they were believed to be the remains of a man, but new technology has found a different result.
Earhart disappeared in 1937 when she tried to complete a 29,000-mile flight marathon. And women in Spain were on strike today for International Women's Day. Women taking part in the strike did not go to work and were urged by organizers to spend no money and not to do any domestic chores.
BBC News reports police were called to stop protesters blocking roads in Barcelona. Feminist groups in Spain encouraged women to strike to show how important their absence is in the workplace.
The ruling party in the Spanish government says the protests did not represent everyday women and instead were for, quote, feminist elites.
And relations between the U.S. and North Korea could be improving. Representatives from South Korea said the North is willing to talk about denuclearization and would suspend tests during any negotiations.
The announcement comes after a historic meeting between South Korea and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. South Korean negotiators left for the U.S. earlier today with a message for President Trump from the North Korean leader. A South Korean official will be speaking at 7.
And Defense Secretary James Mattis says he is optimistic but knows we've had false alarms before.
Obviously, we're cautiously optimistic that there's some forward progress here, but we've been optimistic before, so we're going to have to watch actions and see if they match words.
And the U.S. Embassy in Mexico has issued a travel warning for the resort town of Playa del Carmen, a popular tourist destination.
Last month, 26 people were injured after an explosion on a tourist ferry, and last week, undetonated devices were found on another ferry.
Yesterday, the embassy received information about an unspecified security threat. However, Mexican officials have argued that Playa del Carmen is safe.
And thousands of Italian soccer fans have gathered in Florence to mourn the loss of Davide Astori, an internationally renowned defender.
Astori passed away on Sunday following a sudden illness. Astori was the captain of ACF Fiorentina and the Serie A division.
He leaves behind a wife and a 2-year-old daughter. Astori will be laid to rest in his hometown of Bergamo.
And coming up on Citrus TV News, your latest Central New York weather. Can we expect lake effect snow tomorrow?
And Facebook is building a new data center. Find out where it will be and how much it will cost. Stay tuned.
Every time I hear the alarm bell go off in school, I think it's an air raid.
A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed. I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close.
I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us.
But I know it's all gonna be worth it. I just want my family to be safe. But these are not my words.
These are not my words.
These are not my words.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it?
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got? Or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just.
From the Citrus TV Weather Center, this is SU's most accurate weather forecast.
Welcome back to Citrus TV News. Winter Storm Quinn is currently pummeling the Northeast. This is the second nor'easter to hit this area in under 2 weeks. At least 1 million homes and businesses are without power. Many schools have closed for 2 consecutive days, and 2 people have been killed. Since Wednesday morning, more than 3,000 flights have been canceled. Amtrak also announced they are modifying their schedule in the Northeast. This morning, a commuter train slid off the rails in Massachusetts due to icy conditions. According to CBS Boston, 100 passengers were aboard the train, but no injuries were reported. Winter Storm Quinn brings heavy snow and strong winds, resulting in tree damage, and that has caused the majority of the chaos throughout this region. The nor'easter hit New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and parts of New York yesterday, dumping almost 2 feet of snow in some areas. Now the storm has moved toward New England. Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and parts of Massachusetts should expect the most snow accumulation today. We at Citrus TV hope everyone in these areas stays safe and stays warm.
Couldn't agree with you more, Nicole. Stay safe out there. And Facebook is investing $750 million to build a data center near Atlanta, Georgia. The data center will provide more data storage for photos, videos, and other digital content for its 2 billion users. The data center will create more than 100 full-time jobs and will be powered with renewable energy. The center is expected to be fully operational by 2020.
And picture this, you're lying in bed about to fall asleep when you hear a loud, creepy laugh. That's what has been happening for some Amazon Alexa users who are reporting this smart speaker device is laughing at them. Amazon said they are aware of the problem and they're working to fix it. They say the device mistakenly hears the command Alexa laugh to combat the problem. Amazon is lengthening the phrase command to Alexa, can you laugh? Now, hopefully, I didn't just set off your Alexa at home.
And coming up in sports, SU men's basketball saw their NCAA tournament hopes shrink last night. I'll tell you how. And the men's lacrosse team is gearing up for a big rivalry matchup this weekend, but without one of its standout scorers. We'll be right back.
Everybody has a dream.
mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Did you hear about the pony with a sore throat? He was a little horse. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why couldn't the Wait. Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Where did cats go on vacation? New York.
And now, your Citrus TV Sports Report.
And welcome back to Citrus TV News Live at 6. I'm JD Raucci with sports. All season, the SU men's basketball team has been looking for that signature win I talked about earlier to put on its tournament resume. And it had a perfect opportunity to get it last night in its second round ACC tournament matchup with UNC. But things didn't go so well for the Orange. Syracuse and North Carolina in the Barclays Center. A pretty cool atmosphere. You see Luke May getting introduced there. He'd be a big reason why UNC would roll in this one. But early on, don't do it to him, Tyus Battle. Crosses up Kenny Williams and drills the triple. That gives Syracuse an 8-7 lead early on. And just a couple of minutes later, Syracuse still out in front. And O'Shea Brissett says, I want some of that, Tyus. Give me a 3-ball of my own. He shoots the bow and arrow, but UNC has a 10-point lead at halftime. And early in the second half, I emphasize early, Pascal Chukwu fouls Luke May going up. That's Chukwu's 5th foul just 4 minutes into the second frame. Syracuse loses their big man for the rest of the game, and UNC would take advantage. Kenny Williams drives inside on Marek Dolezaj, finds Cameron Johnson off the glass for 2, and Carolina takes a big lead. But Frank Howard would try to keep SU in it. A spin and a little floater off the glass for the Orange point guard. But again, Carolina inside just too much for Syracuse, tops the Orange 78-59 and eliminates SU from the ACC tournament. While SU fans might not have a lot to cheer about on the basketball court after last night's performance, there is some reason for excitement on the lacrosse field. The Orange moved up 6 spots to number 6 in the latest Inside Lacrosse poll this week, and that's just in time for one of the most storied rivalries in the country. Syracuse welcomes number 17 Johns Hopkins to the Carrier Dome this weekend in a matchup of the 2 winningest programs in the history of college lacrosse. And head coach John Desko is just happy to be seeing the Blue Jays in Central New York.
Yeah, you know, it's great that they're coming into the Carrier Dome. We've had a lot of great games over the years and a lot of times playing for championships. And a big game for both teams. They want to get another win and be playing well this time of year. And the Blue Jays in the Dome, what gets better than that?
And despite that happiness from Coach Desko about having a home game against the Blue Jays, he also announced a tough decision earlier today. Junior attack Nate Solomon has been suspended for the Johns Hopkins game after a physical altercation in Sunday's game against Virginia. Moving things over to the professional ranks now. The Nets are in action against the Hornets tonight down in Charlotte. The game will finish up a 6-game road trip for Brooklyn, and that time away from the Barclays Center hasn't been so friendly. The Nets are just 1-4 on the road trip, but try to turn things around tonight at 7. And in hockey, all 3 of New York State's teams hit the ice tonight, and like the Nets, all 3 are on the road. The Rangers kick the evening off down in Florida when they take on the Lightning at 7:30. New York won the only other meeting between the two teams this season back in early November. Meanwhile, both the Islanders and Sabres are in Canada. Buffalo squares off with the Senators at 7:30, and New York does battle with the Oilers at 9. Meanwhile, a pair of SU basketball recruits are getting a chance to play in the prestigious Jordan Brand Classic. Darius Baisley and Jalen Carey were both invited to play in the showcase for some of the best high school players in the country on April 8th. This is the second All-Star game Baisley has been invited to. The nation's number 9 recruit will also play in the McDonald's All-American game later this month. And 4 of SU track and field's most talented athletes are headed to the NCAA championships this weekend. Both Angelo Goss and Matt Moore will run in the 60-meter hurdles. Paige Stoner will represent the Orange women in the 5K, and cross-country national champ Justin Knight will run in both the 5,000 and 3,000-meter races.
Our sports reporter, J.D. Raucci, thanks so much for being here, J.D. Now, one thing I want to know, we're playing Johns Hopkins in the Dome in lacrosse on Saturday. How do you think they're going to fare?
I think it's going to be a really close game. It almost always is. Last year it came down to 1 goal. Brendan Bomberry scored the game winner down in Maryland to beat the Blue Jays. And like I said earlier, these are the 2 winningest programs in the history of college lacrosse. You really can't get much better than Syracuse and Johns Hopkins. It should be a close one, and it should be a really fun one in the Dome on Saturday afternoon.
Well, JD, thank you. Great stuff as always. We'll be right back.
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown, and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay. Yeah. Hey Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Did you hear about the pony with a sore throat? He was a little horse.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
Why couldn't the Wait, why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Where do cats go on vacation? New York.
And guys, now we're going to take a look at our 5-day forecast that we have coming up. So it's really going to, as I mentioned, it's going to start snowing tonight, and then it's going to transition and snow into even Saturday morning. As you see, those temperatures pretty consistent throughout the rest of the weekend and into early next week. That snow will stop on Saturday, give us a break Sunday and Monday if you happen to still be on campus, and then Tuesday some snow will pick up again and last a couple days. So good thing we're not here, the majority of us will not be here for spring break.
Thanks, Nicole. And last tonight, comedian Chelsea Handler is coming to visit us here at SU.
She'll be here April 5th at 5 p.m. It's a collaboration between UU and the New York Times. Should be a great show. Now, I didn't get a chance to see Josh Peck when he came. I love seeing comedians on campus, but I'm wondering if this will have more of an activism twist to it, because Chelsea Handler has been known to be an activist.
Well, I'm not well versed in Chelsea Handler, as you know, really in whatever she's doing, but I have heard great things, so hopefully we'll get a good show. Nicole, your thoughts?
Yeah, I usually don't take advantage of the guests that come to campus, so I'm hoping that, you know, with a comedian, there's been plenty so far this semester, and I hope that maybe I'll be able to fit it into my schedule.
Yeah, no, it should be fun. All right, well, that's all the time that we have tonight on Citrus TV News. For all of us here at the station, I'm Conor Wight.
And I'm Jack Watson. Have a great evening, Syracuse.